Hello, another week. Here we go. For those of you who are in the geographic regions that have acquired it, I hope you enjoyed your snow. We had about 3-4 inches. Had some friends in different places who had some cold weather, but didn't get the fun parts of the snow. So sorry about that. My little one got to try his snowboard for the first time. It's one of those, snowboard, air quotes, but it's one of those basically it's like a piece of plywood with some straps on that you can strap your feet into. And we have this tiny little hill in the backyard, but it's enough because he's 2 and that's what he needs to do to get started. So I even busted out my board, which is a real board, and went down the hill myself. So that was really fun. And, if I can't live in Houston and enjoy whatever the weather is there and, the friends and family that I have there, at least I get to see my 2-year-old, who, by the way, was born in Houston. He loves snow. At least I get to see him run around and love the snow. And my puppy loves snow too. So he'll be 8 this year, but I still call him a puppy. Anyway, welcome to the show. So many things I have lined up for ahead of us. And I'm so excited. It's over. I don't want to say overwhelming. It is just, I'm filled with joy about all of the things that are up ahead. We've got some fun announcements next week, some great guests coming up. Lots of fun things going on. Really great conversations ahead. So this week is the first week of school for a number of us who've come back in many different levels of education. And I will be starting my first attempt. That sounds negative though. It's going to be great. I am truly, genuinely excited. I need to find a better word because I say excited all the time, especially the woman who hired me. I'm like, I'm sorry that I said excited at least twice in every email I've ever sent you in our entire time knowing each other. I'm very excited, which she's gracious and does not mind. But anyway, I am excited to announce for those who may not have known, I've mentioned it in previous podcasts, but I'm going to be teaching an 800 graduate level course at the KU School of Social Welfare. And I'm working with substance use, and I'm really excited. I have wanted to be a professor since graduate school, since before graduate school. I wanted a master's before I even knew what I wanted a master's in. My mom, bless her, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, her parents, may they rest in peace, were great. They were wonderful grandparents to me, but in her day, she was told that women shouldn't get educated. And I think they were out on a trip somewhere and she snuck and enrolled in our local college. It was a branch campus of one of our state schools. And she got a degree as a teacher. And then she got her master's, and then she got her master's plus 30 and worked her way right on top of that pay scale. You get it, Teresa K, I see you. And so I just always was like, well, my mom has a master's degree, so I want a master's degree. Before I literally even knew what I wanted it in. My undergrad in business. And so I probably didn't want to get an MBA, but maybe I did if my job needed it. And so then I decided I wanted to get a master's in this and become a therapist. Obviously, you've heard that story. Or if you haven't, shoot me a message. I'd be happy to talk to you better. I'm sure at some point in this podcast, I'll probably rehash it again. But so I've always wanted a master's. I've always wanted to teach, not elementary school, not high school, not junior high, but I've always wanted to be in the college setting. I love universities. I loved undergrad. When I lived in Dallas, would go to career fairs for Purdue and talk for 4 hours straight about Purdue to literally anybody who would listen to me because I loved it so much. I had such an amazing experience and such a great opportunity. Again, also very happy to talk to you about Purdue. Shoot me a message. I will talk your ear off, not for 4 hours. Who has 4 hours these days? But anyway, and then in grad school, especially, I saved every scrap of paper. I have these massive, what is the word I'm looking for? I keep want to say umbrella. That's not accordion. What umbrella? I don't know. Anyway, these accordion files, they are 5-6 inches thick and they are filled with, and they are sorted by each class. And they this course had this and this and this and da, da, da. And I saved all of my PowerPoints there in my old maiden name Gmail account. And I just knew one day I would get the opportunity to teach at the collegiate level. And I am so excited about that. Again, there's that word excited. Nothing wrong with the word excited. Just pedestrian that I keep using it over and over again, but who cares? So classes start this week. Today is actually the first day of school Tuesday. My class is on Thursdays, so I have a couple more days. And I have to tell you, was it yesterday morning? I woke up with anxiety, just physical, brain spinning anxiety. And there were other stressors that were certainly involved. The kids were off. My husband was off they were off school. He was off from work. So he was watching them, and he's perfectly capable of taking care of them. But I had clients, and I had, my FOMO because I wanted to be hanging out and spending time with them. And also too, I just felt, again, that's stupid to feel guilty. Well, don't judge yourself, accept your emotions where they are, work through them. But now that's what I'm doing now, is having the conversation of like, it would be it would not make sense for me to be upset of like, oh, I'm working. I'm so sorry, I can't help you. I'm working. I mean, I'm helping pay for Montessori school tuition. So anyway, so I just had a lot, and then lots of other stressors going on, but I just had the most intense feeling of imposter syndrome, which is really interesting because I had supervision with my Houston crew, and all three of them, so two of them got on, and one of them started talking about a student of theirs having imposter syndrome. And we had a great conversation around that. And the second one was on already. And she had obviously heard that conversation. And she started talking about another person talking about imposter syndrome. And then our third team member got on. My third supervisor, there are four of us total. And she missed both of those conversations. And then she started talking about imposter syndrome. And I was like, well, isn't that nice when everything just kind of comes together with a little bow? And we have a nice little throughput conversation of this is our topic for the day. We talked about other things as well. And I just remembered in the moment thinking like, it's really interesting because, well, let me just stop myself right now, because we have to start by defining imposter syndrome, right? You can't have a full conversation. Obviously, my goal is to always define. So according to metro.co.uk, imposter syndrome is a phenomenon in which individuals feel a mixture of inadequacy, incompetency, and inability to overcome a strong sense of fraudulency, despite clear evidence of their worthiness, success, and achievements. This is mainly related to intellect, but has recently been extended to social contexts too. So yes, all of that. I thought that was such an interesting, like, just that's it in a nutshell right there, right? It's like, and I remember thinking like one of the examples was a student feeling like they weren't allowed to ask questions because they were supposed to, they're supposed to know, and they felt like an imposter because, and it's like, well, you're a student and you're supposed to be able to ask questions, and that's your right as a student, and you're not supposed to know everything. And quite frankly, who knows everything? Who literally knows everything? Find me that person. Esther Perel does not know everything about working with couples and working about relationships. I guarantee you, she'd be the first person to tell you that she does not know everything. She doesn't. She knows a lot though. And I love her and I listen to her constantly. And I'm going to have her on this podcast. Y'all write it down. It's happening. So not everybody knows everything anyway. And being able to ask questions, I think, is the most important thing. I think it's a sign of a true leader, even when you're able to say like, well, I don't know that. Let's work together to find an answer. What do you think is the best solution? What do you think is the right answer? If not, let's go find somebody else. I actually put that in my syllabus too. Like, this is my experience. I'm leading this course as an example of my experience, based on my decade plus as a social worker. I don't know everything about substance use. I don't know everything about social work. But I'm here with my energy and my enthusiasm and my passion for what I do to help facilitate these conversations where we'll all learn together. So if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I will be the first person to say, I don't know, because it's okay. So it's okay not to know, that's from one of my son's books that I love. It's okay not to know, I literally quoted that in my syllabus. And then I have a girlfriend who used to teach occupational therapy. And she said, hey, Jay, by the way, listening down in Georgia, they are one of the people who got like a dusting of snow. They made this cute little like 6-inch snowman. Anyway, I'm going off topic back to the beginning about the snow, but she just showed me a picture of that and I thought it was really cute. So, but anyway, yeah. And she was saying like, I actually would congratulate the students, like, congratulations, you stumped the professor. You've come up with a question I don't know the answer to. I don't know where this need for perfection in my mind comes from, because I know that I don't know everything about substance use. I know that I don't know everything about social work. I know that I'm not 100% going to pass a clinical test 100% of the time, because I'm a human, and a decade is a lot of experience, and I feel very confident in where I am, but I also have a lot to learn, and I can learn from students, and I can learn from other professionals. And so perfectionism, right? Definitely not helpful for what I'm trying to go for here, trying to be perfect. But so it's tough though, because in this situation, I am supposed to be the expert, right? Like, truly, to some extent. And so it's like, but I just needed to keep reminding myself of like, it's okay. It is okay to be honest. Like, I have never taught. I mean, I've definitely done, I was a graduate assistant to the executive director of labor studies when I was in grad school, and helped her with actually online coursework, which was interesting because that was like 2012, 2013. So that was very new technology for the day. Now we live on Zoom. But yeah, and so I've done that, and I've definitely been like a substitute teacher when Purdue would get out of session, but I would be able to come home and I would teach and make, they pay substitute teachers $60 a day. So I have some experience teaching, and I love my LMSW supervision for the LMSWs trying to get their clinical license. It's one of my favorite parts of my job, truly. So I don't know. I definitely feel confident in what I do, but there's something that was compounding, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to be a terrible teacher. No, absolutely not. So, that inadequacy, that self-doubt, that conversation that slips in, that automatic negative thought that came into my mind yesterday was just, I was like, where's that even coming from? I have literally wanted this for a decade, for longer than a decade. I feel very confident. I'm a licensed chemical dependency counselor. I've passed that exam. Now, again, I don't know everything. And if you want me to tell you the biological, the micro chemical makeup of, I don't know how to make MDMA, although I've had some patients who do know how to make their own MDMA. That's another story for another time. But yeah, so I don't know where that came from, that inadequacy and self-doubt. It's like, why are we doing that? I do have to say that another piece of it is that fear of judgment, that fear of failure, and that fear of judgment. Like, especially in like technology these days, these kids have, I say kids, I mean, I was not a kid when I was in grad school. I started, I think I was 26. So I say kid, but these students now have Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok. And you're just like, what if you say something stupid and someone's recording you and they're going to put it, no, drama, unnecessary drama. Deal with what if when what if happens, right? And two, it's like, I'm not really a person who, one of the pieces of imposter syndrome talks about kind of denying your own success. And that's really not a problem for me generally. Like, if I feel really confident about something, I feel confident in my ability to say that I'm confident in it. So it's not like fake humility. It was like a genuine, oh my gosh. Procrastination is another one. My ADHD procrastination, that it's interesting. Like, sometimes I'll get something done weeks in advance, because I'm like, I need to get it done. And if I did, and it's done, great. And then sometimes it is like 2 minutes till midnight and I'm wrapping up something before it's due at midnight. So that's another thing too. There have been actually at this point, as of recording this podcast, I have gone through my PowerPoint. I have read all of the materials. I am feeling much more confident, but I was very much recognizing like, hey, it's got like a month until class starts. I should probably go ahead and check out that PowerPoint. And it's like, no, I've got time. Oh, I've got time. And it's like, okay, but when are you going to do it then? And that also would help you to feel better about being more prepared if you prepared, and that stress wouldn't be there anyway. And then of course there's the comparison piece, which it's tough because I know that there are people, there are PhDs, which one day, also write this down, PhD, but right now Austin would divorce me if I asked for more student loans. So I can't, but one day I'd love, but there are people who have research background in these things. And of course they're going to know more. I'm excited to learn from those people. Why would I sit and compare myself knowing that they've been teaching for longer? They're going to be a better teacher. Knowing that they have more training in the field, they're going to know more. That's such a great opportunity for me to learn from the best. And so these are the ways that I was like reframing all of this negativity yesterday, and this like physical anxiety, you all. I mean, whoa, physical. I mean, I made sure not to make that my tea was decaf yesterday because I was like, I'm gonna shoot through this ceiling if I have some caffeine in my coffee or my tea. Nope, nope, nope. So yeah, I just think it's really interesting too, talking about imposter syndrome. It really affects women more predominantly than men, which I found to be really interesting. Because it goes back to, interestingly enough, I didn't plan to make this connection, and yet here we are. It goes back, like, right, my mom was told that she was high achieving in high school, and that's really where she needed to stop because women didn't need to be educated. And so for her, it was like she needed to be able to internalize her accomplishments and put herself out there to learn, and she did, and she was successful, and she's been, I mean, you all heard Courtney, my girlfriend, who was on a couple of weeks ago as our special guest, when we talked about adulting in the Oregon Trail generation, had my mom as a fourth grade teacher, still talks to her when they run into each other at Meyer, right? Like, she's a good teacher. And it's just being able to, and of course, if you ask my mom, anyway, that's another story for when she is on the podcast. But yeah, that crippling perfectionism, that need to be perfect. And it's like, when did anybody ever start out being perfect at something? And that's why I don't play the piano as much as I would like to, because I know how good I used to be. And I know I'm not going to be that good. So I don't want to play because I know I'm not going to be that good, but how am I going to get better if I don't practice? Right. So here we are again. Right. So anyway, but yeah, so I thought that was really interesting too. I've heard a lot of people talk about, there's a lot of research being done on imposter syndrome, and that it does really affect women more predominantly than men. And here I am fitting that bill. Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I just wanted to share because I like to be honest with everybody about certain things. And it's interesting because when I'm a therapist, I don't like to self-disclose very much. I find it a little more difficult, if I'm being honest, when I'm talking to fellow mothers and they're saying something and I want to be like, oh, I just want to validate you so much because that happened to me too. And you're going to get through it and it's going to be amazing. But I'm like, well, that's not my job. If you want a girlfriend, go talk to a girlfriend, and they're not, they've not hired me to be their girlfriend. But even generally, I don't really like to self-disclose very much. But then on this podcast, I'm like, well, what if I can't be open and vulnerable? Then what are we talking about? I don't know. I don't want to just have other people come on and be vulnerable and share their business. I want to make sure that I'm sharing my own thoughts and feelings too. So that is my little foray into imposter syndrome. I've actually had a couple of people who have mentioned wanting to talk about that on future episodes, both previous guests who want to come back and a couple of people who I've got in the pipeline. Wink, wink, hint, hint. No hints. I'm not telling you anything. So I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk about imposter syndrome. And I'm sure I'll be sure to mention how my class goes on Thursday, maybe in next week's episode. I don't know. We'll see. But I did want to leave with, and I'm going to get my phone, hold on a second, with a quote. This person, I'm going to call her out, is Karen Sue on Instagram. It is KERRINSUE. And it's time to start believing in your own potential and thinking highly of yourself. Because I loved the go check on hers, and I like the graphic that she did with it. I'm sure other people have said very similar things to that, and I could quote 16 people, but I saw that visually and I was like, yes. And it's so cheerful because when I told Austin that I was having this imposter syndrome and I was starting to get a little nervous about Thursday, he sent me this TikTok because that's his answer for things, which I think is wonderful. TikTok can be a very useful skill, or a useful tool, I should say, where they did a double-blind study and they told one group of people to do an activity like running, and one was like cooking, and just different activities that they're not necessarily proficient in. And they told one group of people just like, okay, good luck, go do it. Let us know how it goes. And then they told another group of people before they started to say that they felt excited about it. Because I think, again, we talk about both and, right? Not just one thing can be true. Multiple things can be true. I can be nervous for Thursday. I'm still nervous for Thursday. Let's just get that clear. I'm still nervous. But I think it's nervous in a good way. It's mostly excitement. And so the people in that study who said before, verbally said, I'm excited to run this race, right? Even though their main emotion was not excitement. had better outcomes emotionally, and then actually in terms of the outcome of whatever the activity was. The race is the one that keeps sticking in my mind, because I'm like, I'm a runner. I used to be a runner before I had kids, and I know very strongly that people who are not runners don't like running. So, but yeah, so I thought that was really interesting too, is like, it's not toxic positivity. It's not false positivity when you say like, I'm excited to do something, because find that piece of excitement within you, right? Like where there, it's a bunch of different emotions, right? And excitement could be 1% of what you're feeling, but is that true? Are you truly 1% excited? Then focus on that positive piece, build that up, utilize that energy, and move forward with what you got to do. And I couldn't be more excited to teach. I've wanted to teach. I've said that. Thursday's going to be amazing. I can't wait to tell you all how it goes. The woman who hired me actually said, she's like, it takes about 3 semesters to get really good at this course, and we only have it in the spring. So, by 2025, you're going to be great. She was obviously being silly, but I also appreciated that it was like, they're aware, like, well, you are a therapist. You don't have a degree in teaching. So just come in with your enjoyment, with your passion, with your energy and your personality, and it's all going to go well. And that's what I'm focusing on. So no more imposter syndrome. I'm not doing it. No more self-doubt, unless I genuinely am not prepared for something, in which case then I will have that conversation with myself, right? If you really feel like you're not prepared for something that you've signed up for, that you've agreed to do, that's a fair question. Self-awareness is key. But if you're just self-doubting yourself because you're allowing these automatic negative thoughts to intrude, which it's automatic, you can't stop that, but then you decide to continue on with the thoughts and ruminating on the negativity and letting it percolate, then that's your choice to do that. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to wrap it up now. Everybody have a great first week of school. Those of you who are in the education scene, rock chalk Jayhawk to my fellow. Can't look, I even got a little cup. Look at this. Oh, those of you who are on the podcast, you can't see, but it's a little Tervis tumbler with a Jayhawk on it, because once a cheerleader, always a cheerleader. Anyway, everyone have a great first week of school. Those of you who are not in school, I hope you had an amazing week. Continue to shoot me DMs of topics that you'd like to discuss. And if you have been thinking, I would like to go on Let's Discuss with Meg, this is your outcry here. This is your moment. This is me saying, it's time. Let's do it. Because I have a couple of people that I've got lined up. I've got a couple of people who need to get on the schedule. And I don't know. I just really enjoy this part of my job. I really do. So give me a holler, shoot me a DM, send me a text, my email, all of my contact information is out and out in the world. Thank you for taking the opportunity to listen to me. Thank you for the positivity that people have been sending. And let's make it a great one.